Hi, this is Teddy, and you're listening to Nicole Lynn Lewis, founder and CEO of Generation Hope and author of Pregnant Girl on Two Broads Talking Politics. Get your vaccine!
Hi everyone, I am Kelly. This is Two Broads Talking Politics, and the other broad with me today is Nicole Lynn Lewis. Nicole is the founder and CEO of Generation Hope, and we'll talk more about what that is, and also author of a wonderful new book called Pregnant Girl, a story of teen motherhood, college, and creating a better future for young families. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. I'm just going to start. I'm biased, as I often am when I have people on. This book was amazing. It was really great. I'm glad I'm not the kind of person who has to, tear down people because this book was really wonderful and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, great.
So let's start with Generation Hope, actually. Tell us a little bit about what Generation Hope is, what the mission is, and why you founded it.
So Generation Hope is a nonprofit organization I started about 11 years ago. We help teen mothers and fathers in the DC region earn their college degrees, but also helping their kids get ready for kindergarten. And we also advocate nationally for the needs of parenting students all across the country. And I started the organization because I've lived the mission. I was a teen mom and was putting myself through college. And, I was in high school when I discovered my pregnancy. I was a senior and had just been accepted into all these different schools and was an honor roll student, college bound. And, despite having all of that going for me, I heard the same message that a lot of young women hear in that situation. Your life is over. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to be successful. And I knew even then that education was probably the best bet for me to be able to provide for my daughter. And I started at the College of William and Mary when she was a little under 3 months old. So I was a new mom and I was also adjusting to, college, which is not an easy thing. And over those 4 years experienced, homelessness and how do you pay for childcare and food on the table every night and making tough decisions between textbooks and diapers and baby wipes and just really, really difficult on top of being an anomaly at William and Mary and really feeling isolated in my experience as a student parent. But I graduated in 4 years and walked across the graduation stage with my daughter and just saw how game changing my college degree was for both of us. And that was really kind of fueled a fire inside of me to start an organization that made this a reality for more parents across the country.
Yeah, I just, I kept shaking my head reading this book, thinking about just how hard it is to be a parent. Just being a parent, even if you have every advantage, is just a lot. And going to college is a lot, even if you have every advantage. And doing both of those at once, it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's I think there, like you said, I mean, any mother needs support, needs a village, needs a network. Any college student needs support in a village and a network. And the reality is, especially for young parents, those things are often missing. Those resources, that social capital, the village that you need to be successful is often decimated by a pregnancy, or it wasn't there to begin with. And it's really hard to feel like you're thriving every day as a parent without all of those resources and support, and to feel like you're doing well and you have what you need to succeed in college. So it's extremely difficult.
So you talk early on in the book about how often a teen pregnancy isn't the first thing that's happened to someone. It's not the start. It's one more thing in a line of things that's been happening. Can you talk a little bit about that and about how, a lot of things that seek to talk about the teen pregnancy epidemic are really focusing too late for what's actually happening?
We often, I think we've been conditioned to believe that everything's going well in a young person's life, and then they get pregnant, or, they are expecting a child and things spiral out of control, and then they experience poverty, and then they can't go to school, and, opportunities are cut off for them. And in reality, that's usually not the case. What's more often happening is that young people in our country are up against so much already, way before the pregnancy. So poverty, they may be growing up in poverty. They may have lost parents to incarceration, substance abuse. We have students in our program who've grown up in foster care. I talk in the book about a scholar who was molested, for example. And these are the harsh realities that are going on in our communities all over the country that are often kind of the first things to happen way before the pregnancy, and can really just set a young person on a trajectory that's really difficult and challenging and often hopeless. That, I talk in the book about so many young people in this country who are struggling to hope, and that the pregnancy comes as a symptom of all the trauma, all the things that they're experiencing, and as well as race. I think we're having this national conversation about our country's legacy with racial oppression. If we're talking about teen pregnancy and we're not talking about race, then we're totally missing the mark. And so all of these things are underlying issues that we have to really start to address and talk about within the context of teen pregnancy.
And so then in your organization, in Generation Hope, when you are helping people, and you talk about this being a 2-generation solution, that you're helping both the teen parent themselves go to college, but then also helping set up their children for success. How do you see that then playing out down the road? How does this solve not just the problem of the moment, not just the teen parent getting through college, but continues to pay dividends down the road?
Well, we know that when a parent earns their college degree, the outcomes for their child just skyrocket. So automatically, when we help more young parents or parenting college students become college graduates, earn a post-secondary credential, we're setting up that next generation for success. So that's automatically happening. But we do believe that if we can infuse some critical supports into that critical early childhood time for that little one, that we're further accelerating their success. And, there's such a powerful symbiotic relationship between a parent's success and their ability to thrive and their child's. And any parent, right, can understand that. I just remember, sitting in a college classroom, trying to focus, but also, recognizing I wasn't sure how I was going to put food on the table that night, or how was I going to set childcare up for the next month when I couldn't afford it. Like, those things make it really tough for you as a parent to be able to concentrate. So, the 2-gen model says, why don't we really focus on the needs of both the parent and the child together, as opposed to in these silos that can often be working against what we want to see. And what we ultimately want to see are strong families. We want to see parents and children thriving together. And so if we can do more to say, let's not only look at what the child needs, but also what their parent needs. If a child's not doing well in school, perhaps it's because their parent is unemployed and is at risk of being evicted. And so why don't we address the whole family and be able to support them together? And we're really thrilled to be doing that work at Generation Hope.
What are some of the types of support that you provide? What all helps people in this situation? It helps them both thrive as families, as parents, also thrive in college, be able to get that college degree?
What I think is key about what we do at Generation Hope is that it's a holistic approach. So there's really nothing that's off the table in terms of something that might be going on in one of our scholars' lives that we would say, oh, no, we don't do that. We have helped with connecting them to housing. We've helped renew their DACA status. We assist if there's a domestic violence situation. We help pay for groceries when that may be a problem one month. We also provide on-site, on-staff mental health support. So that's always available to both parent and child. In addition to the academic stuff, we can help you pick your classes for next semester or assist you with transferring to a 4-year school. Our philosophy is that we have to really be, supporting the entire student, the whole person. And that means it's not just about all of your academics and are you getting the right GPA? Did you pick the right class? But it's also about, let's talk about it. If you're at risk of being being evicted. If you're in a domestic violence situation, how do we help you get out of that situation into a safe space for you and your child? In addition to making sure that your child also has what they need. And we've seen that holistic approach really matters. It really moves the needle. Less than 2% of teen moms get a degree before age 30. Our scholar graduation rate is higher than the national average for any college student, whether they're parenting or not. So we're seeing that when you really address the needs of the entire student, the whole person, that you'll see success and they'll see success. And we're hoping that it encourages others to do the same.
So you, of course, didn't have Generation Hope when you were going through college.
No.
To help you. You do talk some in the book, though, about individuals who supported you, the sort of
Yes.
built your own village to help get you through. Can you talk some about that? What just having some of those people who are even just willing to listen to you or be someone you can lean on, what a difference that can make?
There were definitely people in my journey. They weren't in the kind of formal structure of a program, as you said. I had a principal in high school. I had a guidance counselor in high school who kind of went to bat for me. I had a teacher who was just wonderful, became like a second mom to me. And even in college, I had a financial aid counselor who really worked hard to get me a financial aid package that would support my daughter and I. And so I really understood the importance of what I call kind of champions in the life of a young parent and a young person. And that's critical. And all of us have the opportunity to show up in that way for a young person and particularly for young parents. The reality is that many young parents don't have that social capital. They don't have those champions in their lives. But for me, it made all the difference to have people who could see past my pregnancy and see that, I still had potential and could do great things.
And your daughter now, the daughter that you were raising when you were in college, is now in college or just graduated?
Yeah, she's a senior. She's about to graduate. Yes.
How is she doing?
She's doing great. She's doing really well. She's a business major. She's really clear on what she wants to do. And I tell people all the time, sometimes she'll go to complain to me about how difficult college is. And then she's like, wait a minute, I can't complain to you because you were raising an entire human being, while you were in college. So we laugh at that. But yeah, it's come full circle for us as a family. And I think it's a great example of the fact that, this has generational impacts. The fact that she's now going to school, she's about to graduate and get her degree. It's all about this long-lasting impact on families, creating this legacy of education. I think she's a great example of that.
Yeah, I love that. And just your stories of her as a baby and a toddler.
Yeah.
It's just so, I think that's the piece that often is missing in media stories, right? When you talk about teen pregnancy and the epidemic of teen pregnancy, and you don't think about people as people, right?
Yes.
As the mom, as a person, and the
Yes.
baby as a person. And that's such a great part of the book that you've written is, and not just you talk about some of the students that you've helped along the way in Generation Hope as well, but it really is humanizing and makes you really want to care about, I care in a general sense, but care individually and specifically about the people who can be helped by this program.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I'm so glad that came through in the book. I feel like there's connection and vulnerability. And so it was really important to me that the story was vulnerable and made people feel like, wow, I get that, overwhelming commitment to making a better life for you and your child. Like any parent can understand that. And I hope they see that, people see that in my story with Narissa. And that was something that was really important to me. And I do feel like there are all these issues that we care about, homelessness and poverty and child hunger and all of these things that we talk about, but we're often not talking about the people at the center of these issues. And just as you said, they're real people and they're real families, and many of them are young families. And so if I can help people to kind of peel back the layers and see, that these young parents just want to create a better future for themselves and their children, like all of us do, then I think that's a win.
And what are the kinds of these students that you're helping? What is the range of schools that they're going to and things that they're studying? What is it that they want to get out of this experience and go on to do?
So we support through our direct service work in the DC region students who are attending 20 different 2 and 4 year schools. Most of the students that start in our program with us start at community college, and about 90% of community college students in our program transfer to a 4-year school with the support of our program. They're studying tons of different majors, and really that's because we really let them kind of tell us, what are you passionate about? What do you want to study? And then we kind of rally around them and help them get to their goals. But across the country, about 1 in 5 undergraduate students is actually parenting. And when we look at it through a racial lens, it's almost half of all Black female undergraduates across the country. And again, they're studying all different majors. You're going to find your largest share of student parents attending community colleges, but they're also attending 4-year schools as well. So this is a population that's significant, but it's an invisible population.
Yeah. And what would something like the American Family Act that has been proposed, would that provide supports that would help this population?
Absolutely. I was really encouraged when I saw the act come out and the initiatives that are proposed. Things like free community college. As I said, student parents are more likely to attend community colleges. With that flexibility to complete within 4 years is huge, because we know that if you're a parent, you're likely having to work to support your family, and so going to school full time is not always realistic. Also investment in under-resourced institutions like HBCUs and MSIs and community colleges. That's huge for this population. They're more likely to be students of color. But also things like universal pre-K and affordable childcare. These are things that we often talk about in the context of workforce. But the reality is that they also help parents get their college degrees. And childcare is one of the biggest obstacles for student parents to actually complete, because it's so hard to find affordable, reliable childcare. And it's very hard to find it on a college campus. So there are a ton of things in the act that I think are crucial to student parent success, and would love to see them actually become a reality.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I would love them to become a reality for all sorts of reasons,
yes.
and this being a key one. So if people who are listening want to help Generation Hope, what are there ways that they can get involved? How can they donate?
Yeah, so you can go to generationhope.org. If you're in the DC region, we would love to have you volunteering and joining us in any kind of capacity. We're in the process of recruiting mentors to our program now. But also, if you're not in the area, we do have opportunities for you to volunteer virtually. So tutoring is something that people can do no matter where they are in the country. If one of our students is having some trouble in a certain class, we can connect them with a tutor who's in or outside of the area. So there are a ton of ways to get involved. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Support Gen Hope, and we'd love to continue the conversation there.
What has the past year looked like? Being obviously a pandemic has all sorts of negatives that come with it. But I work in higher ed, and so I know that higher ed has changed, certainly changed over the course of the year, but there are certainly things that could continue as well, that remote schooling may continue, or flipped classrooms, or how does that affect students who are young parents? You know, are there opportunities there or challenges there that weren't there before?
I think that the pandemic has forced higher ed as a sector to kind of face the fact that there are some populations that have just been falling through the cracks, even before COVID-19. And now the pandemic has made it even more important for institutions to really start to focus on who is falling through the cracks. And student parents is one significant group that has been falling through the cracks. They're 10 times less likely to graduate even before COVID-19. We know that the pandemic has just exacerbated many of the challenges that they had coming into the pandemic. So I think there's a real opportunity here for institutions to start to prioritize and focus on this population. There are some things that I'm hoping that we come out of COVID-19 hanging on to in the higher ed sector. Things like flexibility. It's huge for parenting students, asynchronous versus synchronous learning. We've seen where, being able to have some flexibility in your schedule as a parenting student is really critical, not only in the pandemic, but ongoing. To have that flexibility, to not have that rigid kind of requirement for when you have to sit in a class or sit in front of a computer is huge. I think also the emergency grants that we've seen distributed throughout the pandemic have meant the difference between, dropping out and being able to continue for student parents. And I'm hoping that we see institutions hanging on to these programs even coming out of the pandemic, because it is critical. Those supports are key. And I talk in the book about so many times I was close to falling through the cracks and, really being at the edge, and what would, $100 would have meant, to me in terms of childcare or food on the table. So I think that's what we're hoping to see as well. And then lastly, I would say, I think we have this moment where we can really, I often say student parent work is racial justice work. And I think that over the past year, with the increased attention to the role of race and in terms of our systems in this country, this is an opportunity for institutions to say, let's connect this student parent work to the racial equity agendas that we have for our institution. So I'm hoping that we see that as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. And how can people get this wonderful book?
They can get it anywhere books are sold. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, your favorite local and independent bookstore. But you can find it anywhere that books are sold.
It's really, it's beautifully written. So it's not just that it's a
Thank you.
moving story, but it's just the language that really sweeps you up in the narrative that you're telling, while also giving lots of facts and information that are crucial. So it's a fantastic read. Thank
you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure we talk about today?
I don't think so. You had such great questions. I think you covered everything. It was really wonderful.
Well, excellent. Thank you. So, Nicole, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I hope that people just start throwing money at you and you can expand all over the country and keep doing this great work.
That's the plan. All right. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics, part of the Dimcast Podcast Network. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off of the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Immunuri, and we're using it with permission of the band. Our logo and other original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and was created for use by this podcast. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or on Twitter or Facebook at Two Broads Talk. You can find all of our episodes at twobroadstalkingpolitics.com or anywhere podcasts are found.